Just tell me when. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Strathroy-Caradoc Police Services Board meeting of Tuesday, June 25th, 2024. It's 10 a.m. and it's a hybrid meeting. So there is Ron attending virtually? I don't. Okay, but anyway, it says. So let's move on then. Roll call. All the members, it appears, are present, with the exception of Ron Claridge. He's our advisor. Number 2, the approval of the agenda recommendation of the June 25th, 2024 Police Services Board meeting agenda be approved as circulated. Henry?
We were making that one change about the bad presentation. I think we were going to
defer
that.
Okay. Well, as I was, okay, I guess I can amend it right now then.
You can, or you can just make a motion to defer.
I was going to defer at the time. Okay, so let's just approve the agenda as written at the moment. The Mayor and Inika, thank you very much. All those in favor, thank you. Declaration of pecuniary interest. Seeing none, proceed to reading and correction approval of the minutes. 4.1 general meeting minutes of May 22nd, 2024. Recommendation that the minutes of the May 22nd, 2024 general meeting of the Strathroy-Caradoc Police Services Board be approved as written. Member Hall moves. Member Wiersma seconds. Okay, all those in favor? Thank you very much. Moving on to presentations. This is where we are going to amend things. We're going to ask that we defer the police ceremonial presentation that was scheduled for today to a future date. Could I please have a mover and a seconder? Moved by the Mayor, seconded by Member Hahn. All those in favor? It is approved. Thank you very much. Racing along to communications. Recommendation that the communications item 6.1 to 6.2 be received for information. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Member Hahn, seconded by Member Wiersma. All those in favor? Approved. Did we want to discuss any of those? Okay, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, 6.2, was the chief going to speak to it, or?
Whoever.
I want to make a comment.
Whoever wishes to speak to it, but you can lead off, Mr. Mayor.
No, I just want to comment to everybody how great, fantastic, awesome, all the good adjectives we're fortunate to have Chief Campbell, who is well respected in that. And I think it's great. I'm not blowing smoke at the chief, but
But you're doing it.
I want to pass on my compliments to the chief for what he does.
Thank you very much. And Member Hahn?
My question related to 6.1.2, and I just wondered, with the heat wave we had just last week, did the local Strathroy-Caradoc have to rescue any animals during that week in critical distress?
So through the chair to Member Hahn, I think in reviewing some of the occurrences, we had probably upwards to somewhere between 8 to 10 occurrences where we had community members calling in about animals that might have been left in vehicles. The ones that we attended, we often found that there was someone else in the vehicle was running. So no incidents where we needed to, say, break into a car to relieve an animal from any suffering. So, and I believe that there was a social media post made from Constable McIntyre, again, just to remind the public about the dangers to and how quickly it can escalate for not only pets, but I know in one call in particular there was a person sitting in a car, and the caller was concerned that maybe that person was in distress. Maybe it's an electric vehicle, but it was running at the time, and so the person was not in any sort of danger as well.
Thank you.
And Chief, did you want to speak to your presentation that you did, or your speech at the review ceremony at the Ontario Police College?
Certainly. So thanks, Chair, and thanks, Board, for the kind words and the recognition for the honor it was for myself to be the keynote speaker. So the director of the police college, Paul Hebert, had reached out about a month previous to the graduation, and their selection process is they tend to find or want to find a chief who has had some tenure in their position. He acknowledged the great relationship, our service, and the support that we have from our board in making members available for the secondment program. And I would think that my new position as the first vice president with the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police also sort of was another sort of check mark maybe in the speaker's box of being able to go in. So it's quite a full day. They ask that you arrive early. They have a protocol officer who sort of gave me a walkthrough of all of the times I needed to put my salute up, what my role was. So not only in providing the keynote address, I was responsible for inspecting the graduating recruits, which requires that you walk around the parade hall, make some chit chat or small talk with the recruits who are standing there wishing for the day to end as quick as possible. And then obviously giving an address to the graduates, but also the family and your colleagues who are also present. Real quickly, I had two sort of major themes to what I was addressing the group on. One was about your ability to make an impression on people. A lot of times we think that, we just roll into someone's life when they call us, not realizing how much of an impact you are having on not only fixing their immediate problems or not, but they can sometimes last a lifetime. And so I recalled a couple of stories about, years later you have someone remind you about maybe a time you stopped them on a traffic stop and how that impacted them. And then there's other times where, maybe it's a more positive impact. You're there to help in an emergency situation and make things better for them. The other major theme was about living in the moment. And as we all start into our professional careers, we sometimes are forward thinking and start anticipating, well, where am I going to be in 2 years or 5 years or 10 years down the road? And I just wanted to remind, and it was a reminder for not only the recruits, but for a lot of the police leaders, that you need to live in the moment. Stay present and realize and understand what you are doing today and the impact that is having not only on yourself, your coworkers, and your community. So those were sort of my talking points, my touch points. And again, it was a true honor. I would say around 2,000 people, 500 recruits. Everyone gets 2 guests, and then with senior level staff and others, ballpark about 2,000 people. So Andrea went with me. I referred to her as my speech writer. She was more the editor. And I'll leave you maybe on this point. It was supposed to be a 8 to 10 minute speech. She informed me after it took me 18 minutes. But I pronounced every word clearly. So, it was fun, and I really relished the opportunity I had. And they actually, next time you're in my office, there is a small framed picture they provided me, which I will certainly show off for the rest of my career in my office. So again, I appreciate the support I have from my board in allowing me to not only represent the service as a leader, but also as I continue on and taking on this additional role with the OACP. Again, I appreciate the support that I get from the board, and it's a real honor to represent this community, not only here locally, but provincially as well.
Thank you for that. Member Wiersma?
So Mark, is the pulpit the next step?
So through the chair to Member Wiersma, that's probably an area I'm not maybe qualified to move into.
And so, with that said, there is a brief video that accompanies the chief's remarks, which we could watch now. Just technically.
Oh, cool.
There isn't audio, no, they're just pictures.
I can tell you that that red box is called a dais.
D-I-A-Z?
D-A-I-S.
D-A-I-S.
Apparently it's French for red box. That picture there, the officer's hand I was shaking is Constable Stump from our service.
Oh, that's so precious.
Nice. Well done, Mark.
So maybe just to end on this, I am going to request through the college, you can get, because they do live stream this, and I'm going to ask for a copy of my presentation, my address, and so when I do receive that, I'll forward that along through Jen to the board if they're interested in eating up 18 minutes of your day.
Love to. Love to.
Well, thank you very much for that, and thank you for representing the police service board so well at a provincial level as first vice president. With that said, then we can move on to section 7, which is the review of monthly police service reports. And there's a recommendation, and I'll look for a mover and a seconder, that the monthly reports 7.1 to 7.5 be received for information. Member Wiersma moves it, seconded by the mayor. All those in favor? Fantastic. And Chief, are there any of these that you would like to speak to, or Deputy Chief that you'd like to speak to?
Again, if I may, Chair, there's a couple of items in the Criminal Investigation Division report that I just wanted to briefly sort of highlight. So it talks, bullet point number 2, the sexual assault luring case, and then bullet point number 3, the weapons investigation.
Is this under 7.1?
This is under 7.1, yeah, so this is the activity reports.
Okay, gotcha.
And under the Criminal Investigation Division report that is comprised as part of the reports. Just to highlight the, obviously the unfortunate but presence of human trafficking and elements of it that obviously venture into our area. So we have a couple of investigators who are working on this case. Some challenges, obviously, cooperation from the victim is one of the challenges. But again, I just wanted to highlight to the board that although we don't get many of these types of investigations or complaints that come forward, that we are dedicating as many and the necessary resources to ensure that we complete our investigation as thoroughly as possible. The second bullet point, which is third on that page, was an incident that got quite a bit of media attention in regards to a speeding enforcement traffic stop is how it initiated. And then through some just good old-fashioned police work, I'll call it, where we were able to arrest one of the parties on a outstanding warrant, exercising some of our search authorities, and taking a dangerous weapon off the street. In that case, it was a handgun with a modified clip that increased the capacity of bullets, which obviously moves it into a prohibited weapon category, but a very good traffic stop, as they say, that initiated as a speeding motorist. So again, because of that focus, that dedication by our uniformed members to really target and highlight speeding enforcement as a primary reactive enforcement initiative, led to this incident unfolding. And again, there are some further sort of offenses that are being investigated tied into both weapons and drugs in our community as a result of this traffic stop.
The mayor has a question.
Yeah, just under the statistics, the intimate partners, violence incidents, I think Chair Brennan will help me. A few times we've had at council letters of support across council communications looking to declare, intimate partner violence an epidemic. And just, it's the first time I've actually really looked at our numbers. I mean, that's one incident every 2 days, and so my ask would be this, Chief, is it possible just, like, I don't know if that's getting higher, because, we see it in isolation, like, is it going up, or is it steady? Is it possible to get a chart that shows it's steady going up, or, because that to me, for a small community, that's a large number.
So through the chair to Mayor Grantham, I'm gonna answer the question with a bit of a historical perspective on how the province, where the province moved to as far as making it certain reporting requirements for police services when taking complaints about domestic related incidents. And I'm going to call it domestic related incidents versus domestic violence. So historically, and when I say historically, I'm going to go back probably 30 to 40 years, the way police services investigated domestic or intimate partner calls probably led to certain tragedies occurring, in that we weren't intervening in a very thorough or fulsome way. A lot of times, and again, just I'm not trying to be dismissive in how I describe this, but going back 30 or 40 years ago, you would go to calls involving couples, and it tended to be you would separate them, dust them off, tell them to stay apart, and let them work on their issues. And so we weren't intervening in a way that was providing any sort of long-term solutions to issues involving domestics. That changed after a lot of unfortunate circumstances where domestic occurrences started leading to more and more homicides. So the province introduced mandatory charging practices that required that if you went to a domestic situation, so a call involving two people who had been involved in any sort of intimate type relationship is the definition of a domestic relationship, that if officers had reasonable grounds to believe an offense had occurred, you shall proceed with a charge. There was no gray area. There was no, well, I'll either decide or I'll talk to a crown and decide what I'm going to do. It was automatic that you had to charge to initiate some sort of intervention to deal with the issues. And that is still in play currently. So anytime that we have calls for service, they're not all violent situations, but they're a lot of them, a majority of them in our community, are just incidents involving people who fit the definition of being in an intimate relationship. So from a reporting practice, we call them domestics, but a vast majority of these are, in some cases, are times where we are going and trying to provide and navigate couples through custody arrangements. So there isn't any sort of reporting of or issues related to violence in the relationship, but there are just other challenges within the relationship. So we still categorize them as domestic violence or domestic incidents, which is why you see for the past month, I think there was 19 incidents. So in those 19 incidents, in at least 3 of them, there were grounds for us to proceed with the mandatory charging principles. So the number is high, but the bar is set high to ensure that when we go, we are reporting them under the principles of the mandatory, not only reporting, but the mandatory charging principles. So that's kind of the, I'll call it the leading part of my answer. If I can just provide a narrative on the provincial reach out that you see, and I think this council, and I'm sure many councils, if not every municipality in the province, has probably received that same letter of request recognizing domestic violence as a epidemic. Yeah. I'll maybe leave that to council to sort of debate and decide how they want to offer support to that. I will say, and you know, knock on wood, we have been very, very fortunate in this community that we haven't had those tragic events occurring here. Last week there was one in southwestern Ontario, down near the Windsor area, which I think as the facts are further sort of shared with the communities, is going to be a demonstration that you know, a tragic domestic related incident sort of led to that. So I'll maybe just stop at that.
No, that's good. No answer. That was educational.
Sorry. And then I just wanted to highlight in the court clerk report, because this number really jumped out at me, is the 111 body-worn camera redactions. So this is an activity that we are seeing certainly more and more of, and that is work that is being done by one of our officers who is working under an accommodation, and with our court clerk, as we are gathering more and more records through our body-worn camera program. We also have more and more obligations to ensure that as we forward those records, whether it's for a court case, perhaps for a freedom of information request, or other disclosure aspects, that we are ensuring that we are adhering to the Information and Privacy Commission in regards to not releasing personal information that may impact either a case or just infringe on someone's protection of privacy. So that is a number that has really ballooned over the last year, and again, we're fortunate at this point that we have adequate staffing to deal with that increase in work that is being created, but it is something that we will continue to sort of monitor and make sure that we're staffing the right way to deal with those extra work.
Thank you for that, Chief. Are there any more questions or comments on items 7.2 through 7.5? Member Hahn?
In regards to that court clerk stats, what does date setting mean, and why is it important in this stats?
So through the chair to Member Hahn, I'm going to refer to the Deputy Chief to answer that one.
So every day, one of our members has to log in virtually to what's called date setting with the court. So there's people that work with the court to set court trial dates, as well as criminal lawyers, crown attorneys. So every day we have to log in. There's a list of however many need to be set for trial, and then that's basically why they call it date setting. And then those are the ones that are actually getting set to go to trial.
Would this report have value if you had a year-to-date column in it also?
So through the chair to Member Hahn, I can see that there would be some extra value to see where we have a year-over-year comparison. Certainly as we process charges through the courts, there is a a certain volume of activity or work that is created. And as I mentioned, it is something that we are seeing some changes as far as our need to address those resource-based issues. And so that would give some comparative sort of value to that.
Yes, again, Member Hahn.
I had one more question, and it relates to the budget. And I know that if I go to Mayor Grantham, when was the budget approved?
April, May, I think it was April.
Okay, so next month, we should see a 6-month or a 5-month report likely.
Yeah, so through the chair to Member Hahn, I've been working with the Director of Finance. I believe that there is some work that is still being done to update or ensure that the budget reporting software or programming is completed. And I think that they are still sort of just working through that. But that is something that I'm interested in having available, not only for my own review, but to also have presented to the board.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no more questions or comments tonight into section 7, let's move on then to section 8, inquiries or comments by members, and we'll begin with Vice Chair Matt Hall.
Thank you, Chair. My only comment, I guess, speak to the mayor and Member Hahn. Myself had the pleasure of attending the OAPSB Spring Conference up in Blue Mountains a couple weeks ago. Spent a few days, learned a ton about the new CSPA requirements, kind of generally what we need to make sure that we're in compliance. I'm hoping this meeting, though, I think it's a good idea if we set a date for us to meet to kind of talk about those requirements and make sure that we're up to date and anything we need to action going forward, just to ensure that we're compliant. So if we want to, I'm sure if we want to set the date right now, or if we do it by email afterwards, but that's kind of my only ask.
Okay, thank you. How long do you think that meeting would take? Is it a full
An hour? Maybe an hour. I think an hour or two. I don't think it would be very long.
We could either have a separate meeting or we just add it to a future agenda of the Police Service Board, but I wait to hear what the board members would like to do. Mayor?
Yeah, I just comment on this session. I'm usually happy if I come away with 2 or 3 things that I learn out of those sessions. And I learned one big thing is there's a lot of work we need to, oh, sorry, I forgot that. There's a lot of work we need to do. But we could add it on after, the next police board, but I think it's important we do it. There is a lot of work that needs to be done.
What I might suggest then is we take a look at maybe half-hour increments. If we have a light agenda, we could do it all in one meeting, or we could do half at one meeting and half at another. And I would look forward to maybe the mayor and the deputy chair and Member Hahn, who were there, to put together a list of items that they think that we need to deal with, and we could just add them on to future agendas. Like if there's 3 or 4, we could do 2 or 3 each meeting, depending on how heavy the agenda is. So maybe Vice Chair Hall, you could see to maybe putting together a list of 3 or 4 items, and we could see about scheduling that to future meetings.
Certainly. Yep, I have a list right here, so I'll start disseminating and prioritizing.
Thank you. Member Wiersma?
Nothing at this time.
Member Hahn?
I had an item. It was more of an item of interest. I'm not sure if anyone else may have looked or been listening to the CTV 11 o'clock news last night. It was about Sarnia, and you're likely really familiar with this, both of you, about the new technology. They call it New Technology Will Save Lives, and it's a biometric monitoring system. I found it fascinating that if they brought forward in Sarnia, they're using it for their police holding cells. And we know that many, not many, but a number of inmates, let's say at the detention centers, have passed on, and people are, having a review of all those processes. But this new tool apparently alerts officers when a person has a medical emergency situation, so a change in vital signs. So it's not only good for the police officers that might have to be watching the person, but also for the person that's in the cell. And they likened it to a person that might have to come into a cell because they've consumed a lot of alcohol or drugs, and they're in that cell. And they said often those type of people will sleep for 8 hours straight, you know, just to obviously get off the signs of their consumption. But they said one of the practices is that every hour, you know, a police officer has to kind of wake them up and make sure they're fine, and, you know, check to see that their vital signs are good. And they said with this new technology, they can let that person sleep because it will alert them immediately if anything is changing in their system. So it adds a layer of protection, I guess, to the person in the holding cell, as well as to the officer monitoring that person. And what I was really surprised at was the cost of it. I thought it was going to be quite absorbent. Well, maybe it's, but it's $40,000. So they're saying they're going to be having more of these units in detention centers. And so my question is, maybe to the chief, are you familiar? And how many people, maybe in a month or a year, do you take in your holding cells? I have no idea.
So through the chair to Member Hahn, first of all, I am aware of, I guess, the technology that Sarnia is introducing. I'm not sure of the full extent of what it does, but I was aware that they were moving forward with utilizing the technology. From a strategic priorities perspective, obviously that is one of the pillars that we've identified and is foundational to the board and to the service, is to look to find and introduce appropriate technologies that are going to lead to a safer engagement with our community members. I think for us as a service, before we maybe dip our toe into that pool, we would certainly want to investigate the financial components to it, but also the operational pieces to utilizing that technology. You know, what training is required for our members to be able to deploy it, what are our monitoring requirements. There's a lot to sort of unpack on it. And I just wouldn't want to sort of just arbitrarily sort of introduce it and say, here, put this patch on a prisoner, and by the way, you have some responsibilities for monitoring some of their health concerns. And I know that we have a board member who might be a little more pointed in understanding some of the operational aspects of this technology, and I'll certainly you know, allow that maybe Member Hall to provide some of the details about what value the technology introduces. My personal belief, if I'm allowed to say that, is every person we bring into our cells, we are concerned about their health and well-being. Whether it's someone who is displaying obvious signs of prior drug use or any other sort of substance that they may have taken before they've come into our care, we are concerned about their personal health and well-being. So we have a fairly robust prisoner monitoring procedure that everyone in our service is expected to adhere to, as far as how often they are monitoring, how often they are personally checking on a prisoner, to ensure that while they are in our custody, they are not going into some sort of medical distress, which leads us down a completely different set of challenges. To answer your question, how often do we have someone in cells? Probably daily. At some point, someone coming in and out of our custody, whether it's for a very short period of time or perhaps even overnight. And again, I will stress to the board that the personal health and well-being of someone in custody is paramount to our staff. And so if this technology or this tool, as it evolves, becomes something that is going to enhance that level of service, we will explore that. And if it's the right fit for us, we'll certainly bring that forward to the board.
Thank you.
And the mayor, any comments or inquiries?
No, I think I covered it off. I'll wait till we have our meeting. about what we
Okay,
want.
well, that brings us to the scheduling of meetings, Tuesday, July 16th, 2024. I will not be here. I'll be vacationing. And so I think we'll have someone else in the chair. The deputy chair, Matt Hall, will be chairing the meeting, I suppose. And Tuesday, August 20th, 2024, both those are at 10 a.m. And so that brings us to adjournment. Do I have a mover and a seconder to adjourn? Moved by member Wiersma, second by member Hall. All those in favor? We are adjourned, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much at 10:36.